According to the acquisition learning hypothesis, there is a difference between learning a language and acquiring it. It is one of the several hypotheses Cristian put forth. Similar to how children learn their first language, acquisition is a result of a subconscious process. In contrast, learning is the outcome of formal instruction and is a conscious process that produces conscious knowledge about the language. In this video, we'll examine two studies that anchor to the aforementioned hypothesis entitled Language Acquisition and Learning on Children and Learning or Acquisition, English L2 in a CLIL context at primary level.
So our first research was entitled Language Acquisition and Learning on Children, and the author of this research is Fernandez Aaron. It was published on March 2016. The objective of this research, it aims to describe how children and adults acquire and learn their first and second language.
This research applied longitudinal research in which data is gathered over a period of time on the same subjects repeatedly. The important in a longitudinal research is the observational activities that contain deep analysis on the data gained and in repetition. So the researcher used purposive sampling technique and taking the participants considering something. The participants of this research were a mother with her fetuses. First fetus was 4 months and 3 weeks. The second fetus was 3 months and 6 weeks. The investigation lasted until both of the fetuses were 5 and 4 years old. So the other participants were 4 adults whose age was 13 to 25 years old and living in bilingualism family. And in order to get the data in natural setting, the technique was to apply recording, observation, in-depth interview, and questionnaires. So the instruments of those research are the researcher himself, video recorder, interview manual, observational checklist, field notes, and non-structured questionnaires. So to get the data, the researcher wrote down all the important events, transcribing the conversation from recorded files. The next was to display the categories, and finally was to verify and conclude.
The results showed that since human alive inside mother's womb, especially up to the age of 3 months, the fetus has tried to acquire sounds subconsciously. A child can learn the language by using instructional reinforcement that need confirmation in order to learn. Wherein, the learning process best time for children to learn the language is at the age of 2 to 3 years old.
The researcher made use of strategies that effectively justify the objective of the study, which has to describe how children and adults acquire and learn their first and second language. The findings discuss the different processes or experiences of acquisition of the learning of language. The researcher started in the mother's womb. Since there's a baby inside, it uses audio system. As a result, the researcher find out that this stage of acquisition learning started this happen accidentally and naturally. The participant, 2 to 3 years old child, was instructed and sometimes switched into the first language, which is dominant as a guidance of instruction. As a result, the ideal time for their learning is 2 to 3 years old, which has the ability to bear meaning and or any input that they catch. Children acquire language is just the same as an adult in learning the language, although there will be some constraint faced by the adult concerned with the first language because adult has a strong basic first language just in the children. Children acquire subconsciously with that they have not already had the capability of understanding the situation, self and belief unconsciously based on the level of age. Children learn the language by using instructional reinforcement. Children need confirmation in order to get reinforcement in learning process. Therefore, language acquisition begin in 3 months infant from the mother, and the best time for children to learn language is up to 2 or 3 years old and above.
So now let's move on to the second research. The research was entitled Learning or Acquisition, English as Second Language in a CLIL context at primary level. So the research was authored by Virginia Figueredo and Mario Cruz. It was published on July 2022. The research has the objective, which is to develop strategies and activities that promote the pupil's interest in learning and becoming part of each lesson.
This research adopted the Content and Language Integrated Learning or CLIL methodology in lesson planning. It is the most suitable research strategy for the respondents to use a foreign language in a natural context. This also made use of ethnographic nature method and qualitative method of data collection, where the researchers implemented applied questionnaires to the participants, worksheets, projects, and self-assessment questionnaire. In this study, the participants were from a local school in Porto, which consists of a class with 17 pupils, 9 girls and 8 boys with ages between 9 to 10 years old. To get the findings, the researcher developed games and activities according to the pupils' preferences and implemented them in class activities. They then asked the opinion of the pupils about the materials and resources used in the activities. Their answers were then listed and the conclusions was drawn from it.
The integration of content and language was found to be more engaging and meaningful for the students, leading to a more positive learning experience. Additionally, the study found that the students' learning experiences in the CLIL program were more focused on acquisition rather than learning. The CLIL program provided opportunities for the students to acquire English through meaningful and authentic communication rather than through explicit instruction and memorization. Overall, the study suggests that CLIL can be an effective approach to English language learning at the primary school level, providing opportunities for students to acquire language through meaningful and authentic communication.
The CLIL method was utilized by the researchers, and it involves teaching other subjects through the use of a second language. It builds on students' prior knowledge and experiences. In a survey conducted, 24% of pupils answered yes, but only regarding science, when asked if they are interested in learning and talking in English about topics they have learned in other subjects. This means that language is a central tool for learning science. CILI also allows combining language learning and acquisition with classroom strategies and activities that integrate what pupils already know. As example from the study is the use of Venn diagram. Since the pupils already know what a Venn diagram was from their math class, there was no need to explain it again, and it could be read in English to learn about a food chain.
In conclusion, for both research, the difference between acquisition and learning is laid on the process. Acquisition process happen in two ways, namely subconscious and conscious acquisition, while learning is happen consciously. Acquisition is happen accidentally, naturally, and multiple times, while learning is planned and natural multiple times. In the process of learning, there might be a process of acquisition, but in the process of acquisition, there might not be a process of learning. Children acquire language step by step based on the development of the brain and the case of learning as well. In acquiring language, children do not have any constraint deal with first language interference.